In a small apartment in Lisbon, Angela and Jerry watched the headlines flicker across her tablet. Interpol declares war on Callie, the world's most dangerous cyber mercenary. Her jaw tightened. She scrolled through the images. Massacres, assassinations, and explosions claimed by Callie. Each event was staged, each signature copied from her old methods. Someone was using her name, her legend, to burn the world. And worse, the reports mentioned a captured accomplice. Miho Han. He was being held at an Interpol black site in Prague, accused of rebuilding the syndicate with her. He faced execution within weeks. Angela closed her eyes. For years, she had lived like smoke, unseen, untouchable, free. But now, her past had returned wearing her face. "If they're using my name," she whispered, "then it's my war again." That night, she opened her encrypted network, the Ghost Net. Within hours, 4 agents appeared on her screen. Leora, her hacker ally from Dubai. Kibit, the Kenyan courier she once saved. Solomon Bekele, now working inside African intelligence. And Vera Park, a Korean journalist who had once exposed Taeho's crimes. "Someone's resurrected the Callie identity," Leora said. "But this version isn't subtle. They're trying to start a global power war. And they want Interpol to believe you're behind it," Vera added grimly. "They even planted AI footage of you giving orders." Angela leaned forward, her voice low and sharp. "Who's running it?" Leora hesitated before sending a name. Choi Dae-sung. Angela froze. He was one of Taeho's surviving lieutenants, and a man who had once sworn revenge against her for destroying the Jang clan. "He wants to use my name to finish what Taeho started," Angela said, her eyes narrowing. "And Miho's the bait." 2 weeks later, under a false identity, Angela arrived in Prague. The city was cold and quiet, the air thick with suspicion. She moved like a shadow, through narrow alleys, abandoned train tunnels, and silent rooftops, until she reached the Interpol holding facility on the Vltava River. Inside, Miho was kept in a glass cell, restrained, half-starved, and silent. When she finally reached him through the facility's underbelly, he didn't recognize her at first. Then his eyes widened, disbelief, sorrow, and relief all colliding at once. "You shouldn't have come," he rasped. "You shouldn't have let them blame you," she replied. He gave a faint smile, broken but sincere. "It's easier to be the villain when the world already believes you are." Angela placed her hand on the glass, her eyes softening. "You're not the villain, Miho. You never were. But someone out there is using our ghosts to light another war." Before he could respond, alarms blared. The facility plunged into red light. Gunfire echoed above. Angela turned sharply, not at the guards, but at the intruders storming the compound. The Phantom Syndicate had arrived. Explosions ripped through the corridors as masked soldiers opened fire. Angela fought her way through the chaos, cutting down attackers with brutal precision. She reached Miho's cell, smashed the lock system, and pulled him out. "Can you walk? For you? Always." Together they sprinted through the smoke-filled corridors, reaching the rooftop where a small escape drone awaited. But before they could board, a bullet struck near Angela's foot, and a familiar voice echoed through the smoke. "You really are hard to kill, Angela and Jerry." It was Choi Dae-sung, older, scarred, but smiling like the devil himself. "You stole the clans, the legacy. Now I'll steal your name." Angela raised her weapon. "You can steal the name," she said coldly, "but never the fire behind it." The rooftop erupted into a gunfight. Bullets sparked against metal, smoke swirling around them as the night screamed with chaos. Angela moved like a blur, but Choi was just as fast. He lunged, slashing at her with a blade. She blocked it, spun, and fired, hitting his shoulder. Miho, half limping, dragged her toward the drone. As they lifted off, Choi shouted after them, blood dripping from his wound. "You can't outrun what you created, Callie. The world believes you're still the monster." Angela looked down from the sky, her reflection flickering in the drone's glass. "Then I'll show them what kind of monster I really am." Hours later, In an abandoned monastery outside Prague, Angela patched Miho's wounds while her team decrypted data stolen from Choi's servers. The files revealed something chilling. The Phantom Syndicate had infiltrated global intelligence agencies, manipulating governments, stirring conflicts across continents. And at the top of the list of targets, Africa. They're going to start where it all began, Leora whispered. Angela stood slowly, loading her weapon. Her voice was calm, steady, but filled with fury. Then we go home. Dismantle the Phantom Syndicate, uncovering a shocking truth that connects Choi Dae-sung's new empire to her own forgotten past. The desert wind of northern Kenya carried dust, heat, and memories. As Angela stepped down from the military transport, the scent of dry grass and gun oil brought everything rushing back. The place where it all began, where her story had first taken root in the soil of deception. Behind her, Miho limped out, his dark coat flapping against the wind. His face was thinner, the sharp features shadowed with exhaustion, but his eyes, those same determined eyes, held fire again. "We're really here," he muttered. "Back to where you first became Callie." "No," Angela replied, scanning the horizon. "Back to where I became Angela and Jerry." They had come to Turkana, near the border, where the Phantom Syndicate had begun smuggling weapons through old war routes. Their goal was clear: ignite political chaos in East Africa and take control of a new black market corridor that connected Kenya, Somalia, and Sudan. But there was something else. According to the data Leora decrypted, the syndicate had an African partner, a ghost investor funding the operations. The name froze Angela's blood when she read it. General Musa Njeri, her father. That night, as the team camped near a dry riverbed, the fire burned low and quiet. Leora worked on the satellite link, Kibbet cleaned his rifle, and Vera recorded voice notes for her underground news channel. Miho sat beside Angela, his hand brushing hers lightly. "You never told me about him," he said softly. "There was nothing to tell," she answered, her eyes fixed on the fire. "He was a war hero once, until the greed for power turned him into something else. When I was 16, he sold information to the Koreans. That's how I got pulled into this life. They wanted me to spy for them because of him." Miho's expression hardened. "So he's not just funding the syndicate. He's finishing what he started." Angela nodded. "And I'm going to end it. This time, no disguises, no false names, just me." 2 nights later, they struck. The syndicate's Kenyan stronghold was hidden deep in Mount Kulal, disguised as an aid organization. Inside the compound, mercenaries, hackers, and ex-soldiers worked under the Black Lotus insignia. The moment Angela's team infiltrated the perimeter, the compound exploded into chaos. Gunfire, sirens, shouting in multiple languages. Angela moved through the smoke like a phantom, silent and deadly. Every shot was precise. Every strike was personal. When she finally reached the command center, her father was waiting. General Musa stood tall, his once black uniform now heavy with medals and deceit. His hair had grayed, but his voice carried the same authority that once made her tremble as a child. "My daughter returns from the shadows," he said coldly. "I see the Koreans trained you well. You built the shadows I had to survive in," Angela replied. "And now you're selling this continent to the same monsters who destroyed you." He smiled bitterly. "You think you can save Africa with bullets? You're naive. Power isn't about loyalty. It's about fear. I learned that from the people who used us." "Then you learned wrong." She raised her gun. But before she could pull the trigger, Miho's voice echoed from behind. "Angela, wait!" Suddenly, explosions rocked the compound. The roof began to cave in. The syndicate forces were collapsing the base from the inside. Musa smirked, blood seeping through his shoulder from a stray shot. "You can kill me or you can save the people outside. What will the hero choose?" Angela froze for a split second, then turned away. "You stopped being my father the day you chose this life." She ran as the structure fell, dragging Miho out through the smoke. They leapt through the collapsing doorway just as the compound imploded in a roar of fire and dust. Hours later, as dawn broke over the desert, Angela stood atop a hill overlooking the wreckage. The flames below crackled, reflected in her unreadable eyes. "He's gone," Miho said quietly. "No," she whispered. "People like him never die that easily. They hide, rebuild, and come back stronger. Then we'll keep fighting," he said, stepping closer. "But this time on your terms." Angela turned to him, the sun rising behind her like fire over her silhouette. "No," she said softly. "Not mine. On ours." She extended her hand, and Miho clasped it tightly. Around them, the others gathered: Leora, Kibit, Vera. All tired but unbroken. They weren't mafias. They weren't agents. They were ghosts of two worlds, free, dangerous, and finally fighting for something real. "The syndicate isn't gone," Angela said, her eyes narrowing toward the horizon. "But neither am I." The desert wind carried her voice, a promise that echoed into the dawn. "Let them come. The real Kali has returned." The night was unnaturally quiet over the ruins of Mount Kulal. Smoke coiled upward into the stars, and the air smelled of burnt metal and betrayal. Angela and Jerry stood at the edge of the destruction, her eyes fixed on the dying embers. The syndicate's compound was gone, but her instincts whispered that the war was not. And she was right. 3 days later, in Nairobi, whispers filled the black markets and intelligence networks alike. Rumors said General Musa Njeri was alive. The same man Angela had left buried under fire and debris. The same father who had betrayed her. He wasn't just alive, he was in soul. According to Vera Park sources, Musa had been rescued by none other than Choi Dae-sung, the Korean crime lord who once led the Jang remnants. Together, they had united what was left of the Korean and African underworld under one name. A new empire born from the ashes of both mafias, and built to destroy Angela and Jerry. Angela's team regrouped in an abandoned intelligence bunker outside Mombasa. The sea roared outside the windows, waves crashing like gunfire against the cliffs. Leora projected a holographic map on the wall. Red Lotus operates across Seoul, Busan, and the Horn of Africa. They're trading weapons, data, and influence. Their next target? The East African Rail Network. They want control over the route. Angela's eyes darkened. That railway passes through half the continent. Whoever controls it controls Africa's heartbeat. Miho frowned, running his fingers through his hair. And your father's using it to wash syndicate money. If they pull this off, the world will believe the Red Lotus is just another business empire. Angela leaned against the table, the dim blue light tracing her features. Then we make it bleed. That night, Angela worked alone in her corner, piecing together digital fragments of a transmission intercepted by Kibit. Static filled the speakers at first, then a deep, calm voice emerged. "The girl won't stop until she finds me." "She's your daughter," another voice replied. "She was. Now she's an obstacle. When the time comes, you know what to do." Angela froze. It was her father and Choi. She clenched her fists, fury trembling through her veins. But underneath it, something colder burned. Sorrow. "You really did choose power over blood," she whispered. Miho appeared behind her silently. "What did he say?" She turned away, hiding the pain in her eyes. "He said enough." 2 weeks later, they infiltrated Seoul. Everything about the city felt different now, colder, sharper. The neon lights of Gangnam glowed like scars over steel. Angela disguised herself as a corporate translator, her badge giving her access to the new Red Lotus headquarters disguised as an investment firm, Lotus International Holdings. Inside, everything screamed precision and paranoia. She moved through the marble corridors like a shadow, downloading data from servers, scanning faces, memorizing routes. Then, she saw him. Through a glass wall in the top-floor conference room, General Musa Njeri stood beside Choi Dae-sung, addressing a group of investors and warlords. He was alive, stronger, colder than ever. "Our alliance will ensure order," Musa declared. "Where the world sees chaos, we see opportunity. Africa will no longer beg. It will rule, under the Red Lotus banner." Angela's heart twisted. This was no father. This was a man reborn as a weapon. She activated her comms. Leora, I have eyes on him. Begin uploading. I want everything from their mainframe. Copy that, Leora replied. But be fast, Angela, security's moving. They know someone's inside. The next few minutes were chaotic. Gunfire erupted in the upper levels as Red Lotus guards swept the corridors. Miho breached from the lower entrance, engaging them in a brutal firefight. Angela moved toward the conference room, breaking through the glass with a silenced shot. Musa turned slowly, unfazed. I knew you'd come. Angela raised her gun. You should have stayed buried. Choi smirked, standing beside him. You can kill him, Callie, but then what? You'll just become the ghost they all believe you are. Angela hesitated, her finger trembling on the trigger. That's when Musa stepped forward, his voice deep, calm, dangerous. You think this war is about me? No, my daughter. It's about legacy. I built an empire of blood so you could inherit it. I don't want your empire, she shouted. Then you'll die with your conscience. He pressed a hidden switch on his watch. The floor exploded beneath them. Angela woke up hours later in darkness. Her wrists were bound. Her head pounded. She could hear faint footsteps, the echo of dripping water, and Miho's muffled voice nearby. Then a cold, mechanical voice spoke through a speaker. Welcome to the Red Chamber, Agent Injeri. Musa's voice followed, smooth and venomous. I've given you every chance to stand beside me. Now you'll serve as my message to the world. The old Callie dies tonight, so the Red Lotus can rise. Angela looked up toward the surveillance camera, her lips curling into a defiant smile. Then you don't know your own blood, Father. You taught me how to fight, but you never learned when to stop me. Outside the chamber, Leora and Kibbet were already closing in with drones and EMP grenades. Inside, Angela twisted her wrists, using a shard of glass to slice her bonds free. She crawled toward Miho, whispering, ready to burn their empire down? He grinned through blood. Always. And as the alarms blared again across the underground facility, the fire that once made the world fear Callie came alive in Angela's eyes once more. The kind that breathed, pulsed, and swallowed sound whole. Angela and Jerry crouched beside Miho in the cold steel room known as the Red Chamber, the underground heart of the Red Lotus Alliance. The air smelled of oil, iron, and fear. Her father's voice still echoed faintly from the speakers above, sharp and deliberate. Every word a blade meant to cut her resolve. But he had forgotten one thing. Angela had never been good at dying quietly. Miho struggled to stand, still bleeding from his side. You should go, he rasped. They're after you, not us. I can cover. No, Angela snapped, ripping a wire from the console. You don't cover for me anymore. We will finish this together. Her tone was cold, decisive, the same calm she used to wear when she was the Korean Mafia's ghost spy. But behind that calm was something rawer, rage. Not for the syndicate, not even for her father, but for every time she had been turned into a weapon. She connected the stripped wire to the security panel. Sparks shot out and the lights flickered. Leora's voice suddenly crackled through the earpiece. Angela, the drones are through the second layer of defense. You've got 5 minutes before the main gate locks down permanently. Copy, Angela said, eyes locked on the door. Send Kibbet to the west flank. We'll take the east tunnels. Miho smirked faintly. Always with a plan. Always with you, she said under her breath. The steel door hissed open. Gunfire greeted them instantly. Angela Dove, rolling behind a support beam, returning fire with silent precision. Miho followed, taking out 2 guards with a single controlled burst. Bodies dropped. The alarms howled. Angela's instincts guided her down the corridor to a massive chamber filled with glass pods, each holding frozen data servers. Every one of them pulsed with red light. The entire Red Lotus Intelligence Corps, Miho muttered. Your father's empire in digital form. Then it dies here. Angela placed explosive charges along the base of the server columns, each one primed for a synchronized detonation. But before she could arm the last detonator, a familiar voice echoed behind her. "You always destroy what you don't understand, my daughter." Angela turned. There stood General Musa Njeri, immaculate in a black coat, eyes calm as dusk. Behind him, 2 guards flanked Choi Dae-sung, his arms still bandaged from their last encounter, his face twisted into a smug grin. "You came all this way," Musa said, "only to burn your own blood. You stopped being my blood when you chose men like him," Angela hissed. "You sold your soul for power." Choi chuckled. "Power is survival. Love is weakness. Didn't you learn that from me, Callie?" Miho raised his gun. "Say her name again, and I'll remind you who taught you to bleed." Musa raised a hand, silencing Choi. His gaze softened, almost fatherly. "I built this empire for you. For us. The world will never let a woman like you lead it honestly. But as a shadow, you could rule everything." Angela's eyes glimmered, sad, fierce, unyielding. "Then I'll burn the throne." And she pressed the detonator. The explosion tore through the chamber like thunder. Fire roared, glass shattered, data cores melted. The Red Lotus's empire began to collapse from the inside. Angela and Miho sprinted through the smoke, dodging collapsing steel beams. Musa's guards fell. Choi screamed, as flames engulfed the command station. But as they reached the exit, Angela felt a cold hand grip her wrist. Her father. Half his face was burned, but his grip was still iron. "Angela!" he shouted through the chaos. "You can kill me now, but you'll never escape what I made you." She stared into his eyes, tears cutting through soot on her cheeks. "You didn't make me," she whispered. "You tried to break me." And she pulled the trigger. The bullet struck his chest. He fell back into the flames without another sound. Outside, Kibit and Leora's drones rained cover fire as Angela and Miho burst through the exit tunnel, diving into the night air. The underground base erupted behind them, the explosion lighting up the Seoul skyline like a dying sun. The Red Lotus Alliance was over. Musa Njeri was dead, or so it seemed, and the legend of Callie died with. Network connection lost. Attempting to reconnect, Angela staggered through the alleyway, her lungs burning from smoke and gunpowder. Miho pulled her to her feet, his arm bleeding but steady. Sirens wailed in the distance, police, fire, and the Korean Intelligence Bureau converging on the ruins of the Red Lotus compound. They had done it, or maybe they had only survived. 2 days later, the world's news channels were flooded with breaking reports. Korean Mafia syndicate Red Lotus destroyed in massive explosion. Mastermind Musa Njeri believed dead. Anonymous source leaks files tying Red Lotus to global smuggling ring. Angela sat quietly in a safe house on the outskirts of Busan, her eyes fixed on the flickering TV. Miho stood by the window, his silhouette outlined by the dim orange glow of sunrise. Neither of them spoke. Finally, Angela whispered, "It's not over, is it?" Miho turned to her. His jaw tightened. "Not yet. You saw what I saw. Njeri's body was never found." Angela exhaled slowly, her hand brushing the scar along her shoulder. "Then she's still out there." Across the East China Sea, in a dimly lit cargo ship bound for Hong Kong, a woman with half-burned hair stared into a cracked mirror. Her lips curved into a cold smile. Musa Njeri, once the ghost of Nairobi's underworld, now reborn through fire, was alive. "The world buried Callie," she whispered, voice hoarse but steady. "But I am not done with them yet." She opened a steel case, revealing an obsidian dagger etched with ancient Swahili runes, the symbol of the Black Phoenix, an even darker network hidden beneath the Red Lotus. Back in Korea, Angela received an encrypted call. A distorted voice said only one thing. Her pulse quickened. Miho looked up from the table, sensing her change. "Who was that?" he asked. Angela holstered her weapon, eyes burning with a new fire. "Someone reminding me," she said, "that spies don't get to rest." Weeks after the fall of the Red Lotus, Angela and Miho found themselves in Jeju Island, far from Seoul's underworld, where the sea washed away the scent of gunpowder and secrets. For the first time in months, Angela could breathe. They had scars, both seen and unseen. But in the quiet mornings, when Miho brewed tea and Angela traced the sky with sleepy eyes, peace began to feel real. One evening, beneath the crimson horizon, Miho took her to the cliffs overlooking the sea. The wind carried the scent of salt and jasmine. He turned to her, holding something small in his hand. Not a diamond, but a silver ring carved with two intertwined dragons. The dragons, he said softly. One from the east, one from the south, like us. Different worlds, same fire. Angela stared at him, her breath caught between disbelief and emotion. After everything we've done, you still believe in forever? Miho smiled, that rare, tired smile that only she knew. We've seen death, betrayal, and the edge of hell. But you, he took her hand. You made me believe in life again. Tears slipped down her cheek before she could stop them. She nodded once. Then let's live. Even if the world burns tomorrow. When he slid the ring onto her finger, the sea below roared like thunder, as though the universe itself had blessed their vow. A month later, they married in silence. No reporters, no mafias, no weapons, only a handful of people who had survived alongside them. Kibit, Leora, and an old monk from Busan who owed them his life. The ceremony was held at a small coastal shrine. Angela wore a white hanbok trimmed with Kenyan beadwork, a fusion of her two worlds. Miho stood in a simple black suit, eyes never leaving hers. The monk spoke quietly. The greatest vows are not sworn before crowds, but before scars. When Miho lifted her veil and kissed her, the world outside ceased to exist. For that moment, there were no spies, no enemies, no ghosts, just two broken souls choosing peace. Miho opened a small boat repair shop near the harbor, while Angela trained local girls in self-defense under the guise of a fitness school. She laughed more now, not often, but genuinely. And every night, before sleeping, she would whisper to Miho, "If the world finds us again." He would interrupt her gently, pressing a kiss to her forehead. Then we fight again, together. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment. Also share and subscribe to my channel and click on the notification icon so that you will get notified whenever a new story is uploaded.